Hello, Shat family. This is Gene Lyons. As this podcast hits your feeds, I will be boarding a flight to Chicago, Illinois to take part in the Wet Hot Lake Loop, yet another edition of the Chop Top Challenge. But this time, it's a little bit different because we have our own car. Yes, Shat the Movies has purchased the Shatmobile. It is a 2001 Mercedes-Benz S55 AMG, and it is beautiful. It's got heated seats. It's got massage features. It does not have a roof or a windshield, and it is going camping. We will be driving all around Lake Michigan, starting in Chicago, going through Washington, Wisconsin, Grand Marais, Michigan, Saney, Michigan, Sauble Township, Michigan, Stevensville, Michigan, Muskegon, Michigan, and ending our asses in Toledo. If you like to follow along on the journey, you can go ahead to Instagram and look up Shatmobile. Follow us there. I'd really love the support. If you have any words of encouragement to keep me going as I spend every night in the woods and every day on the roads, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thanks so much for listening and enjoy this episode.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes, then this is the podcast for you. I am one of your hosts, Gene Lyons, and alongside me is my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
Each week, we take a look back in time to decide if our favorite films still hold up. The movies we cover are chosen by you, the listeners, who generously commission the films you love. If you like to see all the movies we have covered, will cover, want to choose one for yourself, please visit shatpod.com and have a look. At the end of each podcast, we'll provide you, the audience, with a number of wipes each movie takes to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV. Review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, Lovecraft Country, and Watchmen. Find all our information at past episodes at shatpod.com/TV. And finally, if you'd like to hang out with us live, follow and subscribe to our Twitch channel, shatpod.com/Twitch, and our YouTube channel where we play video games, host watch parties, and edit this podcast live. All that being said, Big D, what movie are you reviewing today?
Gene, tonight's film, it's very personal to me. I'm very excited. I've been hyping this film up for years and years. I think more than Time Rider. And that didn't go too well. This is a film that is very close to my heart. I remember it exciting me as a young boy. I remember where I was when I first heard about it. So when our great listener, Adam from Philly, wrote in again, commissioning again, great support. I think this is his third film, Cat's Eye, Bowfinger, and tonight's film, it is the 1984 action-adventure Cloak and Dagger.
Hey guys, it's Adam from Philly. I want to give you a huge thanks for accepting my Cloak and Dagger commission last year and change ago. So as with my first commission, my Cloak and Dagger commission is very deeply rooted in family. My brother who passed in 2022, this was one of his go-to movies. It was also one of those movies that played all the time on cable when we were kids. And definitely saw like bits and pieces. And remember not getting it at all. But I know my brother loved it, so I was like, oh, it's got to be great, right? So I decided to do something different this time. I actually decided to watch the movie before I called in and, gave my preemptive Shat score, unlike I did for Cat's Eye, because, wow, that really wasn't very good, as you guys also emphasized. But anyway, so I did watch Cloak and Dagger. It's fine. There's a lot of shooting at kids, and there's a lot of violence, and you realize this is definitely an 80s movie because they could not do this anymore, man. Like, just shooting and kids running and like the end of the movie. I don't want to give it away, but like, it's just so odd. Like the whole thing was odd, But hey, it's a video game movie, and it's got Dabney Coleman in dual roles. R.I.P. Dabney Coleman. So it can't be bad, right? Middle of the road, actually a little bit less than average. I'd probably go for a 3 out of 5. So we'll see what you guys do. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing it. Again, thanks for all that y'all do. It's so much fun to listen. I am, strapped in every single week and love the show. Love you guys and have fun with Cloak and Dagger. See ya.
So, Gene, in researching this film, I came upon a website that gives parents today advice on films they should watch their kids and whether it's appropriate in the 21st century here. And the way they describe this film, yes, they could not release this today. And they describe this as a fantasy adventure and dark mayhem. That's how parents today are describing it. And they say there's some on-screen killings, car chases, some heroic kids, careening cars, stalking, capturing, they're being held hostage, threatened with bombs. A boy is tricked into killing someone, and it's all make-believe. So yes, I don't think they could make this today and have it be marketed as a kid's movie with that kid from E.T.
It's an outstanding observation because when you think about spy movies today, kids spy movies, the villains are very over the top. The ways that they want to threaten these children or like the demise that the child might face, it's generally pretty elaborate, right? There's some massive contraption, some sort of a mousetrap, Dr. Evil sort of threat to the kid. In 84, they just straight up shot at them. The kids are being shot at, stuffed in trunks with dead bodies. It's a very, very different era.
Do you remember TV?
I do remember TV.
The A-Team always had these contraptions that would either trap people or the cars would flip over and you would always see them escape. There was never on-screen killings. They would do everything to get them, like, just to immobilize them. And this movie starts out, and it is not like TV in the 80s.
Well, Cloak and Dagger is a 1984 spy adventure directed by Richard Franklin and starring Henry Thomas, Dabney Coleman, and Michael Murphy. It was based on a Cornell Woolrich short story, The Boy Cried Murder, which had been filmed as The Window in 1949. Cloak and Dagger was originally released in a double feature with The Last Starfighter on July 13th, 1984, and was released separately on August 10th, 1984. The film grossed $9.7 million in the United States, and Thomas was nominated for the Young Artist Award for Best Actor. So, Big D, I would be remiss if I didn't let you go first. You have such vivid memories of Cloak and Dagger. Why don't you tell us about this movie?
It's odd what sticks in your head from when you're a kid. I remember the first time I saw the trailer. I remember where I was. And this was the summer of 84. This is a legendary summer. It's got movies like, if you just look at the top 10, there's Ghostbusters, Temple of Doom, Gremlins, The Karate Kid, Footloose, Beverly Hills Cop, Star Trek 3. You have Splash, Purple Rain, The Natural, Revenge of the Nerds, Bachelor Party, Red Dawn, Terminator was the 21st film, the final chapter of Friday the 13th, Conan, Last Starfighter. If you go up and down this list, it is all-time movies. And at this summer, I was about to turn 11, so I was 10 at the time. And this is before you had online like trailers or you could see them on demand. Every Saturday, there was a show. I think it was called like Coming Soon, where it was 30 minutes of just trailers. If you didn't sit there, the only way you'd find out about upcoming movies was like I did for this film. It was, hey, coming soon, the summer movies. And it would be the local movie critic who would sit down and he went through the summer films that were coming out. And he showed some of those films, which I've already talked about, like 16 Candles and Firestarter. And he got to this film, Cloak and Dagger. And I sat there with my friend Vinnie Wallace looking at the screen, our mouths just wide open because we loved G.I. Joe action. We loved the mystery, the video game component. And we couldn't wait. Summer came on. It finally came out. I did not see the double feature, but it stuck in my head. This film was so much fun, so shocking. It was about kid empowerment. It's 40 years later. And I remember, like we talk in E.T., the excitement about getting on your bike or the Goonies, finding an adventure. That's what this was. And going back, I don't know that it was the same film it was 40 years ago, but I could feel that little boy in me bubbling with excitement. So thank you, Adam, for this commission.
So here at Shat the Movies, we do a wipe score, and the wipe score is how well a movie held up. And these movies are sometimes 40 years old. And so if they do hold up, that's a testament to the quality of the film. What we don't do is rate how memorable a movie is. And this movie clearly is memorable for you, Big D, but also in people that I talked to this week about watching Cloak and Dagger, everyone seems to remember this movie. I have friends that said they watched it over and over again. It was their entire childhood. I have friends who said as children, they begged their parents to take them to San Antonio because they wanted to go to the Riverwalk, because they wanted to see where Cloak and Dagger was, where Davy was running. So apparently this is a massive phenomenon that I just was not familiar with.
I think the mistake was the Alamo did not leverage the popularity to try to get kids to visit the Alamo.
They waited for Pee-wee's Big Adventure for that.
Yeah, they could have did a Cloak and Dagger tour. You get like a little suitcase, you pass it off. That'd be great. I would have gone. I wanted to go.
Big, you've been hyping up this movie for a long, long time. So I was very excited to see it for the first time. And as Adam mentioned, Dabney Coleman sadly died 2 months ago. Cloak and Dagger took on added importance for me to make sure that I gave it a fair shake, that I paid close attention to this film, that I really, really stamped a solid wipe score on it. And I wanted to thank Adam for giving us this beautiful way to say goodbye to Dabney Coleman and to experience this film that so many people love so much. Let's hit the trailer.
The most exciting game Davy ever played
Oh, you got me.
was Cloak and Dagger. No one could believe how much he liked it.
Time to go, Jack.
Is he always like that?
Usually.
So naturally, they wouldn't believe that the game could become real.
Don't let them get it. Tell the FBI.
That the spies could be real. That the danger could be real.
This is starting to get good.
What?
Just like Cloak and Dagger.
And the only person who can help him is Jack Flack, super spy, a figment of his imagination.
Trying to kill us.
Can't kill me. Can't see me.
Top secret documents are at stake. The time is running out.
It's now or never. Come on.
The enemy is getting close.
Stop them!
Whoa, just a second there, son. Now, come on, this is Cloak and Dagger. For real, it's what you always wanted.
Please stop. I don't want to shoot you.
But I want to shoot you.
The star of E.T., Henry Thomas, and Dabney Coleman as Jack Flack in Cloak and Dagger.
"11-year-old Davy Osborne lives in San Antonio, Texas. His father, Hal, has problems relating to Davy in the wake of the death of Davy's mom. Davy befriends Kim Gardner, a girl living nearby, and reveres video game character Jack Flack. Davy imagines Flack as a more dashing version of Hal and wants to live an action-packed life, carrying around a water pistol as his gun and a softball as his grenade."
As a kid, you enjoy the action, the fun parts of the adventure of the movie. As now a 50-year-old man, I go back and I start picking up on themes and I'm like, wow, I didn't really notice that before. 82, I already talked, you have E.T. comes out. Henry Thomas, this cute little kid, becomes a star. And in E.T., he is a child of a broken marriage. Mom is struggling. She talks about dad going to Mexico with the girlfriend. Okay, that's his breakout. What's the next movie he does? Oh, let's do a movie called Misunderstood. He stars with Gene Hackman. In that, Gene Hackman's an absent father who must look after two boys because the wife dies. This becomes a problem, the father's job. He has a hard time raising the kids. Oh, okay, great. Third movie, he takes Cloak and Dagger, tonight's film, where again, he's facing the loss of his mother, dad struggling with work, struggling with listening, struggling with believing his kids. It seems like in every 80s film, there is a dysfunctional family. I mean, he says to dad, he says, Dad, if mom was here, she'd probably believe me. Were all families just fucked up, or this fucked up in movies today?
I mean, Big D, I think you really lucked out because I come from a single parent household. The King Bee's parents are divorced. And I know a lot of people see increased divorce rates as a bad thing, but I've been thinking about this a lot lately. And there's kind of a silver lining there, right? Like maybe more divorces in the 80s, right, and 90s meant that more women were feeling empowered to leave bad relationships. I'm not saying that's what happened here. Clearly, this woman just died. But it could be, you know, men understanding their feelings, recognizing they're unfulfilled. I really, really support divorce. I'm a proponent of divorce in the sense that I don't think you have one life to live. I don't believe in an afterlife. And so if you discovered that you're unhappy in the marriage that you're in, you got to get out of it. And for so long, people couldn't because they were economically stuck with that person, socially stuck with that person, legally stuck with that person. There's too many hurdles to overcome. That doesn't account for the astounding number of parents' deaths in 80s movies. There were a lot of them. It seemed like that was just the template for the script. But I think that goes back to the beginning of cinema and theater, right? Like, even if you go back to like the 40s, there's so many black and white movies where they're like, well, little Billy's mom died and I'm looking for somebody new. Oh, there's the young secretary. And we're going to have a Christmas miracle.
I don't think, maybe today, you know, people are empowered to kind of live their best lives. But back then, nobody seems to come out on top. You know, single mom, single dad, divorce, none of them. I mean, what did we recently do? Ordinary People? You know, that shit's not going to end well. So as the movie's going, I'm like, okay, don't think of this as a 50-year-old. I'm going to remind myself, summer movie, it's fun action, it's supposed to be goofy, it's for kids. And they were thinking, hey, everybody, remember E.T.? Yeah, we're going to have some fun with that kid. It's going to get some hijinks. We're going to have some adventure. We're going to do some spying. It opens, Gene. Again, I'm watching with subtitles. And it says jaunty guitar music. So it is. It's a jaunty tune. And instead of opening like I expect, a G-rated James Bond where he's going to do some espionage, he's going to sneak in, he's going to climb the wall, this shit turns into straight like Friday the 13th. Jack stabs a dude right in the chest. He guts another guy. Then this big-breasted woman comes out. She's going to try to seduce him. She shoots him. He like ricochets the bullet with some kind of a
beret.
Oh, his beret. Yes, that's very bulletproof. He ricochets. She dies, and immediately I'm like, "Holy shit! This is not the A-Team like kid-friendly violence." There's 3 murders within the first 30 seconds.
Hold on, were her boobs that big?
We were supposed to look at them. The camera focused on it.
I think like the dress was just very low cut. I don't think she had big titties.
She probably didn't. But it was just shocking. I was.
Do you
like,
feel tricked again by a woman, Big D? The way they trick you with their wigs and their makeup?
No, with their misdirection.
Yeah, I'm kind of out of touch with modern kid stuff. Do they just not show people getting stabbed and shot anymore in like kids action movies? Is that a no-no?
I don't think so. Even Robert Rodriguez did the Spy Kids.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone gets gutted and bleeding out on the floor.
Yeah, and when the movie opens, you think that's going to be what it's like throughout the movie because he comes down with the parachute, he lands on the dude, you hear psh, 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 and you never see anything actually happen under the parachute. I'm like, oh, okay, they're going to sanitize it. No, they're not. There's going to be graphic violence throughout the film. And I think this violence is okay because it's Davy's imagination, right? If it's in the imagination of a child, then it's appropriate for a child, I think. We have to remind ourselves. Jack Flack, why does he look that way? He looks that way because Dabney Coleman looks that way. It's Hal. It's his father, right? It's just Dabney Coleman in a leather jacket and beret. That's how Davy imagines him. Jack Flack himself, he's just a blob on the screen, right? The Russian guards, they're dopes because that's the game that they're playing. And I got to point out, Davy clearly has never seen an Iranian. Because this limo pulls up in the movie. It's got Islamic Republic flags on it. And I am ready for some 80s Iranians. I'm like, I'm about to see my people in 1984. Out jumps this Saudi-looking fellow. And I'm like, what the fuck? I started laughing. And I guess that means that Davy imagined Tits McGee, too. Maybe she did have huge boobs. It's a little fucked up.
He's home alone. Dad's pulling doubles. We assume Dad's got cable. So we don't know what he's doing home all day. He's not being watched. So yes, we should take all of these little nuggets as signs of what Davy is doing on his own, which has seeped into his imagination, which blurs the line between reality and imaginary friends and games, because Davy's a fucking mess.
One day, Davy witnesses a murder while running an errand for game shop owner Morris. Before dying, the victim gives Davy a Cloak and Dagger video game cartridge containing important military secrets that must be given to the FBI. Davy seeks help from the authorities, who do not believe him. Spies murder Morris and then chase Davy across the city. Jack helps Davy evade the pursuers, but Davy's sense of morality and concern for Kim, whom the spies have kidnapped, collide with Jack's harsh methods.
So again, I want to remind everybody, kids movie. Your description there was a kids movie. And I am a proud member of Gen X. I am not anyone, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I didn't love the way I grew up. We were like feral kids. You went outside, you had fun, you came home when it was dark. We survived, but as I get older, I'm questioning things on why our parents did that. Sure, it was fun for us because we were unsupervised. We did whatever we wanted to do. There was no supervision. But I'm wondering if our parents did it because they were kind of selfish and just didn't give a shit. It wasn't them being like big thinkers, like, hey, let's let these kids have freedom. No, it was dad wants to sit down on the couch and drink beers. Mom is doing something else. Let the kids go. I don't know, Gene, if you're old enough to remember, before the evening news used to come on at 10 o'clock, they would have celebrities doing like these B-rolls, like, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your kids are? And it would be Reggie Jackson. It would be, why do you have to remind parents where their kids are? Are they forgetting it?
Yeah.
They must have needed to be reminded, because the parents here are just like the ones that I've lived with. They're going around town. They're doing whatever. They're making mistakes. Nobody's paying attention. Davy is hanging out with some random 30-year-old dude in the back room of a store in the mall. That's danger. You think about, this is not a guy you want your kids hanging around with. He's got him working in an imaginary world. We joked about Mr. Miyagi, that Mr. Miyagi gets Daniel drunk, dresses him up. He's hanging in the boiler room, promising to fix this boy's bike. In the 80s, why was it okay to leave your kid with some strange adult without supervision? Morris might be grooming these kids. And I know I take it a little bit too far. But he's telling them, hey, kids, let me send you on a secret adventure. We got to keep a secret. Don't tell anyone. He puts these kids who are under 10 years old on a bus to go into the city to run a mission to get some stuff for them. The parents don't seem to mind.
I mean, ideally, this would be the world, right? Ideally, the world would be that kids could just go roam around and everybody's giving them little games to play, creating a world in which they are both safe and having an adventure. Specifically in this case, Morris, he looks like a child molester.
I used to have a neighbor. His name was Tom Jones. I think he's passed since then. He was like the cool 70s guy who had the giant record collection. He was the first one to get all of like the Nintendo games. He had like a setup in his basement. All the like the neighborhood kids would get together. This dude smoked pot around us. We'd go down into his game room. We would play games with him. Later on, he had a workout room at the end of like the road we lived on, the dead end. I don't know how my parents left me with this dude.
That sounds awesome.
It was awesome, but it was dangerous.
But I'm going to talk about the flip side of that, right? Which is like, I live in a neighborhood where every other house has a pool. Like, there's no need for this many pools for the amount of people that are in the neighborhood. If one person just opened up their backyard and said, hey, everybody, pool time, you can all just go jump in there. You'd be fine, Same with like, if I had a garage full like video games and stuff, why not let kids play in it? I think that we're a little too afraid for our own good. I don't think there's that much danger out there, but I will admit that I am in the 2024 mindset just like you. And so it made the initial setup of Cloak and Dagger very puzzling, because in my mind, there is no way that these two small children are hanging out with a shop owner who's not related to them, who looks like fucking Morris. I thought these are siblings. Morris is their dad. It's the only thing my brain could come up with, because that's the only world in which these two should be hanging out with that guy. Then I learned, oh, no, he's the game shop owner who happens to hang out with this brother and sister. And then I'm like, oh, no, Kim and Davy go home. They got separate apartments. I'm like, they're not related? What world is this? This is the world of 1984.
Yeah, the only way I ever learned about like child abuse and about the dangers of strangers was from Different Strokes. When the bicycle shop owner lured, I think it was Dudley and Arnold's brother into the basement, Arnold's brother like bailed and left Dudley down there, and he got molested by Morris.
William Forsythe.
That's the only way I would have known it was dangerous. Yes, but you have one saying it's dangerous, and then Cloak and Dagger says it's cool. I think it's just roll the dice. I got lucky. I didn't get molested.
I mean, there were definitely times as a child. I think I've told you about Ken before, the guy that used to give everybody like bubble gum and shit if you went to his apartment. There was a vibe. There was a definite vibe there, you know? And I think as kids, we kind of were smart enough to know like something's a little off here. I think I'm going to not go inside the apartment. I'm just going to get bubble gum at the door. So I think kids, you know, they have some concept there, but don't you think now with like cell phones and shit, it's way safer? Like they can go wherever they want because if anything is wrong, they would just call you.
No, but I think the danger is that they know everything. Like you can Google anything, so they become an adult quicker. Yes, you can call for help, but no, I think it's more dangerous. But like you're saying, I remember putting myself in dangerous situations at the local arcade. There was a creepy dude who everyone knew if you were friendly with him, he'd give you quarters.
Ooh.
I was nice to him because I knew he'd give us quarters. And then my parents freaked out and they said, hey, stay away from him. My dad threatened him. And it was the last time I ever was nice to that guy. But yeah, I think as a kid, we felt something was off, but we were so feral that we did it anyway. And luckily, some of us survived. And as much as I'm trying to think, okay, spy movie, you have to believe what's going on screen. As a 50-year-old, I'm not going to because I'm picking apart all of these tiny little things. Okay, these kids are going to go up against a group of like 3 international spies, or they may just be part of some kind of industrial espionage. Maybe they were working within the company, whatever it is. But you got to make them somewhat inept that these 10-year-old kids can possibly defeat them. So they give us Rice, who's like the head guy. He's the boss. Alvarez, and then Haverman, who are like the inept like sidekicks, right? They're great at killing people. They're great at like getting the technology. But what they're better at, Gene, is cleaning up a crime scene. Where they shoot that Tektronix like guy in the lab coat. He falls down the middle of a stairs right in front of Davey. He hits the floor. His head must have exploded. He'd been shot twice in the chest, hits concrete. Davey runs out. There's got to be biological matter. There's got to be brain material. There's got to be blood, but yet the police come in right away. There's no evidence. It looks like Davey, again, is full of shit. He's crying wolf. Later on, Morris gets shot through the back of the head into the monitor. Where is the brain matter? Where is the physical evidence? It's not there. I wanted some of it to give credence to what Davey is telling the police.
It was kind of suspect they took Morris's body. Clearly, they must have cleaned off the desk. Didn't think like, I don't know, take the computer with the bullet hole in it.
Or no, Gene, you know what you don't do? You don't take a body and stick it in your car. You don't stick it in your trunk, drive it around, ultimately leave it at another crime scene. You don't do any of this. But I want to see some of this, what they're doing behind the scenes. How are these guys cleaning up the scenes so quickly? That would be pretty funny to see because it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I didn't have time to think about all that. I was too busy being excited about yet another movie that featured a flying dummy. Like anyone who caught our Suburban Commando episode knows this is my new favorite thing. And ever since I noticed it, it's been popping up in every Shat movie. Just shitty dummies flying through the air, shitty dummies falling down stairwells, shitty dummies getting blasted out of windows. I've decided, Big D, this has to be a running Hollywood gag. Like they sit back and laugh. Like it's a thing now I watch for in movies and it's so gratifying. Maybe this was like the Wilhelm scream. We were supposed to catch on that this is like a Hollywood tradition and people just haven't caught on yet.
That would explain it. I would want it to be that because they look comically bad. And the way it falls and it just hits the ground, make it horrifying. You've got like some stabbings, some shootings. Make this graphic. Make this body tumble. Maybe you do something like in Die Hard where he's falling backwards. Hit the ground graphically. Then the body's gone. Then it's almost like a horror film where the body's gone and it's Davy's left there like bedazzled. What's going on?
Nah, I want it to look as bad as possible every single time. Did you notice one of the spies, Haverman, he totally lucked out in the wardrobe department. They're like, okay, Mike, you're in blazers and slacks. Eloy, your outfit's going to be leather jacket. And Tim, shit, your flat ass looks dynamite in those gray sweatpants. And you have a matching sweatshirt. You don't change a thing. Get out there and shine.
Well, I think you hit the jackpot. If you could get paid for an acting role and show up, because usually sweatpants and sweat top is a sign that you've given up on life. If you can sit around your house and go out of the house in sweatpants, it's ultimate comfort. You know, you go on the set, you tell your wife, I can't believe this. I'm getting paid probably $50,000 for this role.
50,000 big ones.
Back then in 84, yeah.
I think they were trying to express like he's the athletic one. Right, like he's the big, muscly one, I guess. So put him in sweats.
He looks like Hans and Franz.
Yeah,
it wasn't like this was part of his disguise, where he'd be out like jogging, like Hulk Hogan in Suburban Commando, in his tight pants and his top and his boots. It doesn't make sense with the rest of the group, but maybe it was supposed to like blend in and be, you know, just part of the background. But it looked comfy.
I also felt sort of awful for him because at one point when they're chasing Davy and he's got the car. And they send Haverman back to go get the van. And then he runs all the way back and gets the van. He pulls up and they're like, all right, we're going to continue on foot. Haverman, you fuck off. Why'd you make him run back and get the van then?
I don't know. Why did you also leave the body in the back of your car?
No, they had him go back and get the van because he was the one in sweats. That's the guy you want jogging.
Yeah, you don't want to chafe.
You don't want to jog in leather.
Never.
Davy is cornered by spies along the Riverwalk and lures them into the crossfire gambit, causing one to kill the other. He picks up a gun, but runs instead of shooting Dr. Rice, the spy's leader. Rice corners Davy, taunting him. And when Davy proves unwilling to shoot first, Jack dares Rice to shoot him. Rice turns and fires at the wall, thinking Jack is a hidden ally. Enraged, Davy fires his pistol, killing Rice.
So throughout the movie, Davy and Kim goes by the codename Lady Ace. They are put in dangerous situations. This is not imaginary. This isn't something that the kids are thinking of, like the baseball's a hand grenade or the softball's a hand grenade. These are like real life or death situations. Yes, the parents, they've left them alone. They're off. They're doing their own thing. But you got to figure, other adults or maybe people of authority, adults would be concerned with some of the situations these kids find themselves in public. So Kim, she's been kidnapped by a group of spies. They decide to do the handoff with Davy at this place called the Japanese Sunken Gardens. I also wanted to visit this in San Antonio as a kid because this movie made it look just delightful. The two kids are obviously under stress. They're being chased by three adult men, one in a leather jacket, one in matching sweats top and bottom, and the other one who's definitely looks like a Jeffrey Dahmer, kind of twisted, white 40-year-old guy who's just up to no good. They run through a public park. They're screaming, help, help. I'm being followed. There's aggressive adults. The adults around, they see it. They get on a bus. They think they're home safe. Davy says, I'm going to sacrifice myself. I'm going to distract them. I'm going to run off the bus. You stay, Kim. You ride it out. He runs off of a bus. What is the universal sign, Gene, of kid in trouble as far as vehicles?
Oh, vans.
A van.
Yeah.
So Davy runs off the bus. A van swerves, drives up onto the curb, and continues to chase Davy. Alvarez pulls out his gun, shoots at Davy in public. Yes, it's silenced, but he's shooting at Davy as he's going down the stairs. Nobody reacts. Davy hides under a table in a populated, like the Riverwalk. And the adults say, can we help you, please? Is there anything She's like, please, tell someone. They're trying to kill me. Call the FBI. Call the police. He's being very concise, very detailed. He's asking for help. He's obviously under stress. And the adults simply say, sorry, kid, I can't help you. And the guy actually mocks him and makes fun of the situation, saying, oh, maybe we should call it Hoover. J. Edgar Hoover could help you. This fucking kid's in trouble.
I kind of understand why adults might not take kids seriously. Well, the situation they're in, it sounds absolutely ridiculous, right? That there are spies chasing you for a cartridge that you're supposed to deliver to the FBI. It's got national secrets hidden in it. It's really on Davey. You said he's concise. He might be concise, but he is not using the obscene amount of evidence to convince authorities that the threat is real. You got, at the Alamo, 3 bad guys in a car, dead body in the trunk, again, across the street from the Alamo. This would be a great time to tell everybody on the street, a crowded street, hey, everyone, Morris, the game shop owner, who I know, whom you all know from the mall, he is dead in an open, the trunk is open, in the open trunk. These are the guys that killed him. There is literally an armed guard at the door of the Alamo. Davey walks right the fuck past him, doesn't think to go, hey, guard, there's a dead body in the car over there. Those are the guys.
Yeah, but I think it's because he's been conditioned by this point in the movie. He is Yes, he has. Think about that couple on the Riverwalk. He went and told them. He didn't do the whole crazy, like wild, oh, I've got a game and there's spies. He just said, help me. Call the police. Help. They're trying. That's all. The mother should have said yes. At this point, with the Alamo, I'm done too. I 100%. I'm not going to trust anyone. So you got to do what you got to do. No police, no parents. It's up to Jack and Davey.
I think what we're saying here is that the two of us grew up as children in an era that was wild. It was not secure.
No.
This was a crazy, crazy world. On Saturday, Sarah and I went to the movies with a group of Krav Maga black belts. And when you go to the bar now at Harkins theaters, they make you get a wristband so that you're not like giving your beer to a kid, right? So if you got a beer in your hand, you got to have a wristband on. So we're like, fine, whatever. We went and saw Twisters. It's garbage. I drink my beer. We get out of the movie. One of our classmates is like, hey, do you want to get your wristbands off? And I said, yeah. He whips out a knife, like out of his pocket, and he cuts all of our wristbands off. And I said, holy shit. Nobody checks for weapons at the movies. It is a miracle. It is a testament to the good nature of the American people that there aren't movie theater massacres like on a weekly basis, right? It would be so easy to walk into a theater with a gun and just start blasting people. It's dark. There would be pandemonium. And it shocked me because we are just so conditioned to metal detectors and bag checks everywhere we go that the movies don't do that. It's actually wild. And that is not what 1984 was like. In this movie, we've got a security guard sitting in a building. There's a kid lurking around with a gun in his hand. And the guy's just like, all right, I guess whatever. Kids are walking into buildings carrying backpacks with antennas sticking out of them. Security, that's fine. Like, I don't know what these guys are actually guarding for.
No, but if you also think Morris working, like, he doesn't even sit in the front of the store. You know that they're going to get robbed. That shoplifters must have been going crazy in that store stealing stuff. But yeah, people don't pay attention. Gene, I think today it's a false sense of security. We are inept. You believe you're safe. If you just look about what happened recently with the shooting, that someone could get up on a roof and people could be like, hey, look, it's a guy with a gun. I remember going through airport security 24 hours after I'd had like 15 pounds of C4 in a backpack and using that backpack to travel and getting it swabbed at TSA and it not going off. I think we live in a false sense of security that maybe back in the 80s, we just knew, whatever. You just let the kid, it's probably not a real gun because today we just feel safe, but we necessarily aren't. Back in the 80s, fuck, it's a kid with maybe a gun, maybe a water pistol with ink. Who knows? Just let him go.
I think what Big D is saying here is that we should take a week as Americans and just shut down all security and just see what happens.
I really think it's mostly luck. Luck and maybe the good spirits of people. I think really it's a false sense of security.
Well, realizing that Jack had tricked him into shooting the spy, Davey discards the pistol, pulls a miniature of Jack out of his pocket, and breaks it on the concrete. Blood begins to pour from the bullet holes that now riddle Jack's body, and he collapses. Distracting Davy by asking for a cigarette, Jack fades and vanishes. When Davy calls to Jack, saying he can't do it alone, Jack's voice reassures him that he always could and tells him to save Kim. So, Adam, I got to say at this point in the podcast, this is not a good movie by any means. I know it might sound like I was going to give it a great wipe score. I'm not. But I absolutely loved every scene featuring Kim. Now, Kim is played by Christina Nigra, who is Evie's best friend, for those of you who are fans of Out of This World. I don't know about you, Big D, but I was a massive fan of Out of This World and Small Wonder.
No, but Small Wonder, I remember, that's the robot, right?
Yeah. So Out of This World was like Small Wonder, except Evie is half alien, but she just looks like a normal girl. And when she presses her fingers together, she can stop time, which is kind of cool. And then she has this like very 80s diamond shaped sculpture on her nightstand. And she can use that to communicate with her dad, who is an alien. And he's like on another planet, but they can speak to each other through this thing. It's just like a glowing diamond thing. It's awesome. If you guys haven't seen Out of This World, I think it ran for like 4 or 5 seasons. Really, really good show. But getting back to Kim, this little girl, her hair, her mannerisms, her cynical attitude. This is a 50-year-old woman in like an 8-year-old's body. I half expected at points in this movie for her to like light up a smoke and balance her checkbook while bitching about her lazy ex-husband. She's great.
You're totally right. I didn't even think of it. She talks to the mom like she's one of her coworkers. The mother's like, hey, why do you hang around with Davey? She's like, ma, he's the only boy who doesn't bore me. And the mom's like, shit, I understand what you're talking about. I completely get it. There is a dark side to this film. It's all fun and games until you start to break this down as an adult. What are we talking here? 40 years later, right?
Right.
Jack is the imaginary friend of Davy. He is part of his psyche. Yes, this is fun. You have an imaginary friend, but everything the imaginary friend does is actually Davy. And he doesn't have any additional information. So when they get to a part, and I was glad that the movie was pretty consistent with the fact that Davy cannot learn something he doesn't know. So when they get in the car, Davy can't drive. So Jack is no help. Jack says, hey, I can't help you with this. And we know that Davy's had some problems before because his father already has a psychologist for him. Probably from mom's death, Dr. Sullivan. He's been talking and treating Davy. And Jack has a very dark place in Davy's personality. Maybe he's angry because his mom's dead. Maybe it's because dad won't play board games with him. But when Jack comes out at the Riverwalk and he is gleefully sitting there sipping tea as Davy is terrified, Davy is like pleading for his life. Someone's going to kill him. And he's sitting and Jack is like, oh, Davy, just pick up that gun, Davy. Pick it up, Davy. Davy, be a good boy. Davy, be a good boy. And Davy's like, please, I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to hurt anybody. And he's trying to do the right thing. And then Jack, who is his subconscious, he instructs him, yeah, take them out. Let's do it. We got to do it now, Davy. Do it now. Pick up the hardware. Shoot them all. Yeah. Get them in the crossfire gambit. Shoot him. Kill him, Davy. Shoot him. That guy's a jerk. Kill him. This is his subconscious trying to assert control over an 11-year-old boy. Ultimately, he shoots a man because his imaginary friend pretends to get shot. And then Davy comes to and Davy goes, that wasn't fair. You tricked me. You made me kill him. His subconscious tricked an 11-year-old boy into killing a man. This kid is going to need some therapy.
His subconscious is the only thing that's keeping him alive. Like Jack Flack is critical to Davy's survival because Davy has no survival instinct, right? Jack is there helping him make the tough decisions. Davy, conscious Davy, good little boy Davy, he's the fucking problem here. His solution to this situation, he would rather run between two guys and yell, hey, Ricey, what's the matter? Can't shoot straight? Than just shoot two guys who are literally trying to kill him and his BFF. This is the part that I think we're overlooking here, is without Jack, Davy's going to be dead on the Riverwalk because he was too stupid to just shoot the guys.
Oh, he's going to. But this also has a chance to become like a Fight Club thing where Jack comes back in therapy because Jack has already told him, no cops, no dads. We're on our own. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back. That whole crossfire gambit, that's the worst strategy ever known.
Terrible.
What if the two guys just say, hey, there he is. Let's slowly close in on him. He's dead. And what is the 80s like just fascination with Uzis? Pull out the heavy artillery? That's the worst weapon. It looks cool, inaccurate, loud, even though with that suppressor. But these guys, come on.
Yeah, my exact notes on that was you don't need a bigger gun to kill a child.
A pocket knife.
A regular gun will do the trick. A pocket knife will do the trick.
Also, what happened to Alvarez? He could shoot a rat in the dark, but he couldn't hit a child running down the stairs at the city walk. Not that I want Alvarez to actually shoot Davey, but maybe wing him, hit him in the leg or something.
Speaking of subconscious.
Maybe hurt him.
Well, Davey escapes an elderly couple who turn out to be enforcers allied with the spies. He chases them to the airport where he pretends they are his parents abandoning him. Cornered, the couple kidnap Davey and commandeer a plane, unaware that Davey has brought the bomb which the spies had planned to use to kill Kim. Hal, who has arrived at the airport with Kim's mother, volunteers to be the pilot. As the plane taxis to the runway, Hal identifies himself as Jack Flack and calls Davey to the cockpit to escape through the window. The plane explodes, destroying the cartridge and the enforcers in the process, but Hal escapes. Davey, joyful that his father is alive, realizes that his father is his true hero and he has moved on from Jack. He declares, I don't need him anymore. I got you, Dad.
Gene, if you had put me under oath and had me describe this film, I thought it ended after the Japanese gardens. That happens at 30 minutes when Davey and Kim, they're doing the cartridge handoff. I thought that was the end of the movie. I would have bet my life there was nothing more. I kept looking at the status bar at the bottom of the film. I did not remember this entire third act where it's 11:30 at night. Davey finds himself in the bad part of town. It looks like Adventures in Babysitting. It's kind of comedic. They get music that actually says, bow, chicka, bow, bow. So you know it's a dirty part of town. There's prostitutes. It feels like a different movie, like it was kind of added on. I didn't remember these two minors trying to get to the airport. Davey doesn't have his bus pass. He's then begging a taxi driver to, hey, take me to the airport at 11:30 at night. The cab driver sees he's got a bloody leg. He says, hey, little buddy, you should probably go to the hospital. And instead he says, hey, come on, get in the cab. I'm going home anyway. And Kim is getting through TSA. This whole third act is a wild statement on the 80s as a whole, late night, and what's going on with these kids.
Yeah, we talked about how uncomfortable we were with Morris, the shopkeeper, and these two kids. When Davey asked that cab driver for a ride, he said, I'll find some way to repay you. Yes. I thought the movie was about to take a very disturbing twist because why else would a cab driver in a seedy neighborhood give a child a free ride to the airport? I understand it was on his quote unquote way home, but why?
How come nobody asks, where are your parents?
Where are your parents?
Why are you bleeding?
Because it's 1984.
It's 11:30 at night. Do your parents know where you are? Nobody's asking these questions.
Big D, you talked about how the initial three spies, the three stooges, were completely inept in this movie. The two new enforcers that were introduced to, these geriatric spies, they got to be the two dumbest characters in the movie. Kids, they're pretty smart. These two, incredibly dumb. Their business is international espionage. At this point, they've come from the Alamo. They've got the cartridge, the Cloak and Dagger cartridge, in their possession. They've got this kid who is clearly gullible, who's got into the car with them and thinks they're okay. And all you have to say is, hey, Davey, we don't understand why that case you were trying to get was so important to you. That other guy left with it. You let Davey out of the car, you head to the airport. You got your cartridge, you got your tickets to Mexico, you're good to go. Instead, the old lady's like, oh, here is the cartridge. And hey, Davey, look at my missing fingers. No. Now they have to kill Davey. but they're not going to kill him themselves. No. They're going to leave that up to the henchmen that they just set up a secret drop with. They're going to meet up with them again, chloroform this kid. Huge forced error. They fucked up their own plans.
No, see, and again, we've done this long enough that I'm hearing your voice in my head as this scene is playing out. And I'm thinking exactly, you are my Jack Flack. You're on my shoulder and you're talking to me like, hey, Big D, don't trust these old people, right? They keep asking him, hey, what's going on with that other guy? And he starts in, well, there's some international spies. And he tells them everything, that he knows the cartridge was handed off. Only at that point does she take off her glove. She doesn't know that he's gotten the piece of information that you can identify the spies by the fingers. So when he says, you're the spy, now she knows jig's up. She's got to act. So they were forced into it. They were trying to get information out of Davy to find out how exposed they were. But as a kid, I was shocked. I remember in the theater being shocked. How could these old people be involved? This was like bigger shock to me than the Sixth Sense that he was dead, that these old people, and it probably made me not trust any adults. It probably reinforced that you can't even trust friendly old people, Gene, who are going to help you.
You know who else you can't trust? Your dad.
Nobody.
Yeah, Hal straight up lies to Davy in this movie. During the final bit of action, Davy's climbing out the cockpit window, and he's like, come on, Dad, come with me, come on. And Hal's like, nah, I can't fit through that. What he should have said is, nah, Davy, I don't want to get dropped directly into the path of the landing gear.
Yeah.
You go first. This man is holding his child at the window, about to drop him from, I don't know, how high is that, 20 feet or some shit?
Oh, yeah, at least.
Yeah.
Minimum.
And I swear to God, Dabney Coleman's whole ass giant torso is out the window already. He's holding Davy by his hands. Pro tip for the public, okay? If you can fit your shoulders through an opening, you can fit your whole ass body through there easily. Shit, if you can fit your head, you got a pretty good chance of getting your whole body through. He was just lying. I don't know how the fuck he got off that plane.
Man, but this entire ending had an airplane vibe. From pulling up to the parking, they're like, no parking in the white zone. Kim runs up to the airline, the ticket gate, and the woman's like, oh, yes, that's flight 145 to Mexico. It's boarding at gate 15, Concourse B. How did Kim get through a metal detector with a bomb in her radio? You now have a bomb. The police are notified this is going on. There's a standoff, which could have immediately been ended by simply saying, the old people could have been like, hey, tell us what's our name, kid. Those are your parents? You couldn't. They could have walked away and said, that's a crazy kid who's been bothering us since the Alamo. It's an absolute mess. The police, are they negotiating with the plane? No, the ground crew comes running in. The dude with the flashlights, he goes, they don't want to negotiate. And he's like waving the things. It's absolutely ridiculous. This entire ending of the film is comical. There's the explosion of the plane. It's a fucking disaster, dude. As a kid, I probably left excited, but now I'm like, what the hell's happening?
Do you have TSA pre-check?
Of course.
Yeah.
Global entry. That's the greatest.
How do you feel about like the whole face scan thing now?
I don't give a fuck.
Right?
Everywhere I walk, I'm scanned. Who cares?
I was reading this Jalopnik article, and it's like, don't let them, you can opt out of those, basically, which they don't tell you can, but you can. You can be like, no, I just want the normal, check my documents, let me go, whatever.
Who cares?
I don't give a fuck. I just want to get on the fucking plane. And I know that people are like, well, that's what they're banking on. You're going to give up your rights for convenience? Yes, I 100% am. I'm totally okay with that.
Jesus, didn't some company, some like BlackRock, just buy Ancestry.com?
Uh-oh.
So they now own all the DNA records of whoever like submitted. Come on, people.
There you go.
If you're walking around with either Google, Facebook, or any other social media on your phone, you're being tracked. Your face at the airport isn't the biggest problem, but this back in the 80s was a fucking shit show. They got a bombing, a shooting, a standoff, but yet everyone's walking around like nothing's going on.
I also love that that the old people waited until they got to the airport to dump the gun in the trash can. Like you couldn't leave it in your vehicle or something. Like, no.
No, in plain sight. In plain sight. And then also the bomb is in the back of the plane. Come here. Come to the back of the plane where the bomb is.
Where the bomb is.
Not like, hey, let's get off the plane. And they don't notice that the pilot for the airline is dressed as somebody with an Air Force uniform on. Maybe they're not spies, Gene. Maybe this is a side gig.
Also, did you catch that Davey, when he did like the cassette swap, wasn't smart enough to take the sticker off of the game? Like, come on, Davey.
Oh, Davey's
Anyway, now's the time in the podcast we give our Shat score. Our Shat score is our way of telling you how many wipes this movie would take to get off your respective butts. 0 wipes is a perfect movie. It's when you have ingenuity and contacts. And 5 wipes is an absolute disaster of a movie. It's leaving when they stop believing. Big D, we'll start with you. What is your Shat score for Cloak and Dagger?
So, Gene, this one, it hurt, but it was also, I could see why I loved it. Because it simultaneously encouraged kids to be adventurous and to engage in imaginary fun. Yet at the same time, it told them the serious perils of trusting adults. These kids should have been killed quickly and quietly. Instead, they had an exciting adventure. This is a cautionary tale of the absent 80s parent and the lasting psychological effect it's had on my generation. But I do have to give credit here because I found a review that put this into perspective. So I want to give credit to it and read this off as I'm going to give it a 3.75 wipe. But this review came from JH on Rotten Tomato. And JH wrote this in, and this was his summary. He said, a preteen is grief-stricken over the loss of his mother. His father works long hours and is never around. He has an imaginary friend who looks like his dad. And his real friend is a strange adult who works in a video game store. He witnesses a murder. He's nearly stabbed and shot and knocked out with chloroform. He's put in the trunk of a car with a dead body. He's threatened with being shot in the knee and the stomach and dying slowly. He shoots and kills a guy. He's taken hostage on a plane, and then it has a bomb on it. Did I mention this was rated PG and intended for kids? I'll bet there was plenty of "Where's My Cocaine" heard on the movie set. And JH is right. This was a shit show. Going back now and looking at it, I can't justify it. I can't make it better. I get 3.75 wipes, and that is with my nostalgia glasses.
Adam, I want to preface my wipe score by saying once again that if there were bonus points for being memorable, this movie would do very, very well. It is not a movie I will soon forget. It is a movie that will be stuck in my memory because it is unlike anything I have ever seen. And I'm sure that my wipe score will incur the wrath of Dabney Coleman's ghost, but I hope that his soul can rest easy knowing I don't blame this movie on him. Dabney Coleman gave it his all in this movie. He played 2 roles and did a fantastic job. I just think that this is a movie that did not need to be made. And you could have given it any cast, any script treatment. It's still not a movie that works in any way. And so for me, it's 4.5 wipes. And with 4.5 wipes from me and 3 3/4 wipes from Big D, that gives us an average wipe score of 4.125 wipes for Cloak and Dagger.
That's a harsh one, Gene. It's very harsh. That now ties this in the 353 spot. It's been a while since we had something down towards the bottom here. It's tied it with My Science Project, Mac and Me, Backdraft, Time Cop, Westworld. Slightly better than Who's Harry Crumb, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and King Ralph. Slightly worse than The Seventh Sign, Caveman, Blue Thunder, and Inner Space. It belongs there. I can't lie. As much as I fondly remember this film, it's not a very good one.
Well, Adam, I hope you feel like that was a fair score. I did notice in your voicemail that you watched it before rendering an opinion this time. So I think that we might be in agreement there. Thank you so much for the commission. We have an email this week from Detroit J, who says, hey there, Shat Crew. I enjoyed the review of Invictus. It did help put perspective to a film avoided. The title sounded like another Clash of the Titans or 300 or Gladiator. Since I don't have the funds to request a movie to review, I'm just throwing this one out there for the sake of understanding more about the film itself. 1, do you think Invictus would have been better as a 1-season series of 45-minute episodes? 2, would you be willing to consider another apartheid film, Cry Freedom, from 1987? It's based on Black activist Steve Biko. It has a great soundtrack by Peter Gabriel and would be a good bookend to the storyline of Invictus. Thanks so much for all you do. This show is one of my bookmarks in a week that I look forward to listening. Cheers and love, Detroit J. So let's go with question 1 first. Do we think Invictus would have been better as a one-season series of 45-minute episodes rather than a single film.
No way. No way. Not unless you put more time into just like breaking down like rugby. And then even that's not the exciting part of the film.
Yeah.
They were grasping. They had to do that whole airplane flyby thing. If you stretch this out, what else are you going to add to it?
I think you spend one episode just on apartheid and Mandela. We see Mandela in prison. That's the setup. And then, or maybe that's like the episode 3 or 4, right? You do a flashback episode to fill in how bad that situation was. Yeah. And then they do one episode where they follow the housekeeper home. So her taking the bus, her going back to her. Okay, maybe. Yeah. I mean,
she's slowly talking to her family about how they're changing, how Mandela's really like trying to help the team. We also have to have an episode about Winnie and about Nelson, like being a player.
Yeah.
That he's out there, he's hitting on the women.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not going to watch it. They could produce it, but I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah. I think it would do as well as Treme did. And I love Treme, but nobody else did. I was the only person that watched Treme. The other question that Detroit J had, would we be willing to consider another apartheid film, Cry Freedom? I mean, certainly. It's 87. It's right in our wheelhouse. I'd be willing to consider it.
Yeah, I mean, the cast, young Denzel, you got Kevin Kline. It's a killer cast.
All right. Well, thank you, Detroit J. Again, if you'd like to leave us an email, just write to host@shatpod.com, or you can go to shatpod.com and use the SpeakPipe feature to leave us a voicemail. Big D, what do we have coming up next week?
Gene, next week, it's Disney's beguiling animated romp about a rebellious 16-year-old mermaid, Ariel, who is fascinated with life on land. On one of her visits to the surface, which is forbidden by her controlling father, King Triton, she falls for a human prince. Determined to be with her new love, Ariel makes a dangerous deal with the sea witch Ursula to become human for 3 days. But when plans go awry for the star-crossed lovers, the king must make the ultimate sacrifice for his daughter. Commissioned by Jackson M. This came out in 89, Gene, and this is a long one. We've talked the problem I've had with Ariel transforming from fish to human, the part of her body that would appear also, that Disney conveniently left out.
Yeah, I did not realize that this movie is that old. That is wild, 1989. But I am so excited to see it. And Big D, I know how much you love bringing in Emma's opinion on these films. I will be in Michigan for family reunion watching this film with a gaggle of little girls to get their opinions on it as well. Some of who have not seen it. So I'm very, very excited for this review.
I might have to watch it again with her. I think I'll do that. Maybe include her thoughts.
When's the last time you think she watched it?
Oh, well, we saw the new one. We saw the remake, the live action. But it would be interesting to see what she thinks of the original. And I will sing, Gene, because I sang for my Disney recruiter when I did the college program. Under the Sea, I know it very well, and I'm troubled by some of the lyrics. Darling, it's better down where it's wetter. Take it from me. They're very suggestive. In this film, from the phallic symbol on the top of the castle, it is a problematic film that I remember very well.
Kiss the girl. Well, thank you, Jackson, for the upcoming commission. Thank you, Adam, for commissioning Cloak and Dagger, making our dreams come true. Thank you to all the commissioners who make this podcast possible. That concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, and Furzu.com at Shat the Movies and at Shat on TV. You can email us, hosts@shatpod.com. Support the podcast by shopping our merch on shatpod.com/shop or by commissioning your own movie. Find all information by visiting our website, shatpod.com/support. Also, check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Find all information on our website, shatpod.com/TV, wherever fine podcasts can be found, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, and if you stop by Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. It helps the podcast grow. On behalf of my co-host, Big D, I'm Gene Lyons. Join us next week for the following movie.
For over 50 years, Walt Disney has turned classic stories into classic animated motion pictures. Now the tradition continues as one of the world's greatest stories becomes the newest Disney motion picture classic, The Little Mermaid.
I want to be where the people are. I want to see Wanna see them dancing, up where they walk, up where they run, up where they stay all day in the sun.
It's the story of Ariel, a beautiful young mermaid who wants to become human.
He's very handsome, isn't he?
I don't know, he looks kind of hairy and slobbery to me.
Not that one, the other one.
And she'll strike a bargain with a powerful sea witch
Have we got a deal?
to make her dream come true.
What I want from you is your voice.
My voice?
You've got it, sweet cakes.
Ariel's been turned into a human.
Have you lost your senses completely? The human world, it's a mess.
Now, the Little Mermaid is exploring the mysteries of her strange new world.
What's your name? What's wrong? You can't speak?
But to regain her voice, the sea witch's spell must be broken.
Move it! We got an emergency here!
Broken by the kiss of true love.
Kiss the girl.
It's Walt Disney Pictures' 28th full-length animated motion picture, featuring dozens of delightful new Disney characters and 7 magical new songs.
Sha-la-la-la-la-la, don't stop now. Don't try to hide it out. You wanna kiss the girl.
This holiday season, share the wonder and magic of a very special entertainment event. A fantastic adventure above the waves and under the sea.
Under the sea. Under the sea. When the sun begins to make music to me. Yeah, we in luck here, down in the muck here, under the sea.
Walt Disney Pictures, The Little Mermaid.
Okay, I don't think any of that worked, so I'm going to skip it. I'm going to go back and undo it. Do you agree? Didn't work.